Well, continuing here, I want to finish that thought on monopolies and how, it's not better in any way for to have a group of colluding special interest groups that are on the same page, have the same goals and aims, okay, of raising your cost of living tax in a specific area. And housing is a prime example of that. And all the people associated with higher housing costs, investors, flippers, speculators, landlords, property management companies, the innocent little homeowner, builders, real estate agents, lenders. Do you understand? That is right there. That's a mouthful. That's a lot of different special interest groups for you to consider what I'm talking about here that are the same mindset. You understand? Even if they're not evil, just by going along with this, they're succumbing to evil by saying, yeah, I'll be a part of it. It's a good way to make a buck. You know what I mean? And, so they play this game. And they're of that mindset that higher housing costs are a good thing when that's a tax. How are high housing costs good to me? Okay? You understand? It's not good. Housing should not be looked at as an investment. Okay? But that's what people do. Okay? And it's maddening to me that people do this, and they've got to understand, look, this is messed up, man. This is all, these people manipulate markets, these special interest groups that form this one big monopoly that are colluding together, okay? Understand what they do. They raise your cost of living tax to their benefit. As long as the numbers work in their favor in this equation, they don't care if this pyramid scheme goes for as long as they can take it. They'll push the envelope as far as they can. We all know they can't do it forever, because this is Zimbabwe in slow motion. This is Weimar Germany, remember, with the wheelbarrows full of money. That's probably a better archetype of what I'm talking about. It's hyperinflation scene. Okay, how is what's happened in my whole life, seeing the Weimar Germany or Zimbabwe, hyperinflation in slow motion? Okay, do you understand? And there's still people to this day with great intellect that, I don't know what the stumbling block is. I don't know if it's honesty or just they just feel like their own self-interests are at stake, so they've got to keep believing that high housing costs are good, that inflation is somehow good, inflation tax is good. But I'll hear from these same people, a lot of them like Alex Jones, who'll say, no, high taxes are bad. But then the next breath, they'll say, well, I'd be willing to pay more taxes, for this or that. And then I hear my own daughter, I got to debate this with her. And I say, well, I'll settle this argument about taxes. Let's say all taxes are voluntary. Okay, how do you like that? Put that in your pipe and smoke it. That's where I'm coming from. We make all taxation voluntary. Plus, you get to earmark where your contribution, okay, goes. Okay, so, cut through the crap. Don't get into endless debates with people about this. Just cut to the chase and say, this is where I'm coming from. And get biblical, too, because, your biblical, your spiritual, your belief that there is a God, that's witnessing everything that you think, say, and do, and all of us combined, then you check in with him and let his views supersede anything political, any of your political nonsensical persuasions and divisions that have been manufactured by the George Soroses of the world, hopefully to get us in a civil war, because that's how they would like this end game, this pyramid scheme to play itself out. And then the elitists get on top, and then they impose communism, which is fascism, a tiny group of elitists that run the show in perpetuity with no hope for we the people ever turning this thing around. That's what they want. They want irreconcilable division in the land is their plan. Maybe that's a good title for this video series. But that's what they want. They, in quotation marks, the evil-doing, elitist children, bratty children that need to be parented, that need to be put in their place, that need to be won over to the side of light. At least try. Even if they are lost causes, remember, that's not your business. You don't have the wisdom or the wherewithal to judge them in that regard. So your job is to keep trying to win them over. So hey, let's settle this tax thing about, well, this cost of living comes from the government, so it's sanctified, so the socialists believe, right? Because it's to go for good, of the whole. But this tax that you call a cost of living tax, that's a bad tax, or vice versa. The cost of living tax is perfectly okay, like guys like Alex Jones want you to believe, right? That no, that's booming. We want boom. We want boom, a bubble for the people and this sort of. No, the people want stability. We want progress. Okay, when you understand the least thing about supply and demand capitalism, okay, which is the only kind of capitalism I know of where there's evidence for progress, okay, and evidence for regress. Okay, and the evidence for progress in a true supply and demand capitalist system is that your cost of living tax continues to go down. To what end? Well, yeah, you consider that, okay? You do that. You see that big, bright, shining light at the end of the tunnel? Okay, what that represents is ultimate, absolute freedom for everybody. That's it. That's it. That is God's will being accomplished on earth. That's what that big, bright, glorious light shining is. Absolute freedom. That's what, if we had true free market supply and demand is more important than free market. Max Kaiser and Stacey Herbert were talking about this free market and the flaws in that, or maybe it was Max's guest this past week. But it's very interesting because, people starting to talk about this stuff. We'll get to the bottom of this. We'll figure out. If you're honest, you will ask, seek, and knock. You'll find the truth. So, Alex Jones, I'm not condemning you. I have great respect and admiration for you. You've done great things for humanity. You've been God's loyal and faithful servant, courageous, exposing 9/11, and being outspoken, being a really good American in that regard. You've had great, look, I'll never detract from all the good things, but you don't have to beat yourself up, okay? I know there was a blurb on the news a while back, and maybe Alex saw it. I saw it. And they were telling there was some survey done where they showed that people that cuss the most they're the more intelligent ones. Yeah, the mainstream media put that blurb out. Did Alex Jones believe that when he doesn't believe most things because he thought that's you can't make this stuff up, as he's always saying. But indeed, we know you can make this stuff up. You can, and like they say, truth is stranger than fiction. So it's one of those kind of deals. But it's not true. That goes against everything that's written in the Bible. Look what James said about that. The tongue is a restless evil. Okay, what a huge forest fire has started from such a small spark. Jesus said it's not what goes in our mouths that defiles us, but what comes out of our mouths. Okay, it goes on and on. You've got to watch your thoughts first. Remember, that's where your speech is coming from, what the things you're thinking. So you don't need to beat yourself up. That's what you're doing when you're using these cuss words. I understand it. I mean, I use expletives, so I'm not going to sit here and tell you one thing and do another. I can be a hypocrite too. I get, I want to punctuate, right? So, you use an expletive sometimes, but I'm not saying it's good. I'm not. I don't want it to sound condemning or taunting toward anybody. So if that's what cussing and using profanity, expletives, if that's what that does, then I'm wrong when I do it. And I need to apologize to anybody I've offended for doing that. But I really think Alex Jones would be a lot happier man because he deserves to be happy. I think part of the problem is he never expected for them to let him live as long as they have. And so he's going through, wild metamorphosis with just this idea that, hey, I mean, I might get to grow into be an old man and I might get away with this thing. I mean, so I don't know what's going on, but I know he could be happier. But, as far as understanding that the people want steady progress, okay, we want the worth of our currency to keep going up gradually, slowly. We want that's progress, that's supply and demand, that's the way it works. And the reason it works like that is because we find easier and easier means to produce not only the things we absolutely need, which is most important for any community, any society, any civilization, okay, you produce the things you need, and you get good at that. With industrialization, we've gotten very good at that. We can stamp houses out like pancakes, but of course the government won't let that, right? The building department come in with environmental impact reports, and you could this and that, the next thing, and okay, there's all these issues. And then the population growth in America is being manipulated too by these people. These same people that want this, perpetual clash of civilizations. They say, you're mean and bad and incompassionate if you don't want all the refugees and immigrants in the world to just come to America if they're not happy in their own countries. Just come to America and you can go on welfare and it's the land of opportunity. When they know what it's doing, they know it's making sure that wages stay really low, way below, the buying power of minimum wage 50 years ago, way below that. Okay, the Labor Department's been utterly and shamefully, profoundly remiss in just keeping up with the cost of living and giving cost of living adjustments to minimum wage workers year after year and pointing the finger at the market manipulators. They're shameful. They can't show their face. They know exactly. They know what I'm talking. Anybody working for the Labor Department, you should be ashamed. Hang your head low, because you know I'm right. You know you've been in the pockets of the Federal Reserve Bank. This bank shouldn't exist. The fact that mankind, Americans have allowed that to exist. Okay, that's what I was talking about, being emblematic of how cucked we've been as a nation. It should not exist. The Federal Reserve should not exist. Should not have existed for well over 50 years now. Okay, 55 years. It shouldn't have existed. If that was JFK's will, and there was a hint of impropriety on the part of the Federal Reserve and the assassination of the president, gone. They would have been gone day one after his assassination. Day one. We the people should not have tolerated this. But we did. We're cucked. Because what? I mean, Satan got in there, man, and we've been the apple of Satan's eye, and he's got a good foothold. He doesn't want to give it up. He wants his thing, this pyramid scheme, to end in civil war and permanent, irreconcilable division in the land. The kind of crap that they got going in Ireland with the Protestants and the Catholics over there. The British, occupying Northern Ireland and all this crap, being primarily the Protestant group in Ireland, and that's what they would love to do to us. So, hey, you got the haters, right? You got they're going to call the right-wing conservative Republicans, right? These are the haters or incompassionate, and the left-wing and nice socialists, for the working for the people. They get you believing this crap. That just want all they don't understand. But you understand how the irony here is that the left, they used to be the free speech people. So we've come full circle. Alex Jones had a guest on that pointed this out recently. I forget who it was. Might have been Steve Pieczenik. But this happened before in history, where now the right, the conservative, is sounding like the left, where we're proponents of free speech more and against censorship. And the irony is about the labor too, is that the left, okay, the liberals used to be the Labor Party, right? They cared more about the working man, But how does bringing in all the desperate immigrants in the world without putting any fire under the butts of the governments that have this excessive immigration, excessive migration, okay? No fire under their butts. We're not pointing that at the mainstream media. Won't touch that one. Humiliating these leaders. What the hell are you doing for your own people? Why do you have all this immigration? What's going on? What's wrong with you people? No, they just say, no, let them all come. Let them all come. But because they know it's wrecking up the joint. They know it's putting an artificial, unnatural demand, inorganic demand on things like housing, essential human needs. So supply and demand, you understand, we find easier and easier ways to produce not only things we need, but we want. So that's the rhyme and reason. That's the logic. That's why your cost of living tax should go down. Okay? But they're going to fight tooth and nail. That would set you free. They know that. These evil-doing elitists at the top that create these divisive policies that we're forced to live under. That's what they're doing. So I hope I've spelled it out well enough. And, so you can understand that this stuff is not particularly intellectual to understand, but it's just really being honest and turning to God for understanding, counsel. And say, look, help me. I don't understand this business. Love my enemy. Why? I mean, but you're going to help. You're going to be his friend and heal the division in the land. We got to salvage this thing, man. If America's to set a shining light example, we got to get our act together quick, man, because people are dying out on the streets. Okay, this is life and death. That's the extent of the gravity of the situation. Okay, people are dying in dubious warfare. The debt, the national debt keeps rising, and who do you think's paying for that? The workers, the unskilled workers pay for that through currency debasement. This is how they get away with this. And they explain it, well, somebody's got to pay this debt. We got to cheat somebody. We can't have the Labor Department every year without fail just giving a slight cost of living adjustment, and then they keep up, and we can't have that because we wouldn't be able to oppress the people. We wouldn't be able to get away with this wanton currency debasement through cost of living tax inflation. They know that because we'd point the finger every time employers didn't like it. They said, what the hell are you doing, Labor Department? You bunch of communists, you bunch of socialists. This is how screwed up our thinking is. These people have us in Satan's maws. I mean, we've got to understand we're in big trouble here. We've got to understand the threat is imminent and it's grave, it's serious. And I cannot convey that extremely enough, hyperbolically enough. Okay, I mean, I can't exaggerate that threat. We got to understand how good they are at what they do. Remember, they practice diabolism. Practice makes perfect. Okay, and that's what they're into. And I'm telling you, man, we are in big trouble here, man. And we got to understand what's grab this freaking bull by the horns. And if it slaps us against the walls, I'm sorry. And if it kills some of us, sorry. But we got to speak out, speak our minds, speak the truth, man. How are we going to turn this thing around? How are we going to turn this evil ship of fools that's careening to destruction around? Through understanding and empowerment, people accepting their empowerment and educating and informing other people accurately, edifying, properly, and letting what's going to supersede your belief system, let it come from God through meditation and prayer and just consultation, counsel from him, from the Most High. He gives it to everybody freely. You ask for a good thing,